The sleepy facade of Emmerdale is about to shatter, revealing the treacherous currents of deceit, fear, and desperate ambition that lie beneath. As dawn breaks over the familiar dales, it casts long, ominous shadows, hinting at the tempest brewing within the lives of its inhabitants. Forget what you thought you knew, this is not just another day in Emmerdale, but a precipice where fates hang by a thread, and every secret threatens to unravel with catastrophic force. Our journey into the heart of the storm begins with Charity Dingle. The air around her is thick with a palpable anxiety, a suffocating shroud of uncertainty that even her characteristic feistiness cannot entirely dispel. The DNA test results: the very scrolls of her future lie heavy, not just in a sterile laboratory, but in the depths of her soul. Is the child she carries a symbol of hope, a reconnection to her beloved granddaughter Sarah, or a haunting echo of a fleeting, reckless night with Ross Barton? The memory of that clandestine encounter gnaws at her, a relentless whisper in the quiet corners of her mind. We see her pacing, a tigress trapped in a cage of her own making, her eyes starting to every shadow, every unexpected sound. A flashback, brief and jarring, shows Ross's hand briefly touching hers, a shared glance of complicity, now magnified into a grand conspiracy in her fevered imagination. Jez, ever observant, her intuition as sharp as a Dingle's wit, catches a glimpse of Charity and Ross huddled in hushed conversation, their faces etched with a secret too potent to ignore. A seed of suspicion is planted in Chaz's mind, a tiny tremor that will soon escalate into a seismic revelation. Will Chaz, the ever-vigilant matriarch, unearth the truth before it consumes Charity, or will her probing merely accelerate the inevitable collision? The 10-day waiting period for the results stretches like an eternity, each tick of the clock a hammer blow against Charity's fragile composure. The stakes are impossibly high, the legacy of a family, the purity of a bond, and the crushing weight of a life. Meanwhile, a darker, more insidious drama unfolds, ensnaring the innocent and vulnerable. Ray Walters, a man whose smile could charm angels and whose eyes conceal the depths of manipulation, tightens his serpentine grip around April Windsor and Dylan Penders. The initial skepticism from April, a fleeting moment of clarity, is brutally suppressed. Dylan, naive and desperate for a foothold in the world, becomes Ray's unwitting pawn. Ray, a master of psychological warfare, appears at the depot, not as a boss, but as a phantom, an omnipresent force that cannot be escaped. His offer of a driving lesson to Dylan isn't just a gesture of kindness, it's the first link in a chain of enslavement. Paddy Dingle, beaming with paternal pride at Dylan's newfound ambition, offers to teach him to drive, unwittingly creating a dangerous conflict of loyalty. April, however, is being dragged into the abyss at an alarming rate. Ray lays bare the true extent of her and Dylan's debt, a number so astronomical it crushes their spirits, making escape seem utterly impossible. With a chilling calm, Ray proposes a solution, a new job for April, a pathway to clear their debts, but one paved with perilous choices and irreversible consequences. We see a montage, April's hesitant nod, a burner phone pressed into her trembling hand, the harsh glint of streetlights reflecting in her wide, fearful eyes. The rules of her new job are delivered with the precision of a seasoned criminal, no questions, no mistakes, no second chances. A brutal, gut-wrenching scene flashes across the screen. April stumbles upon a beaten-up lad, a stark, visceral reminder of the merciless consequences of failure in Ray's world. The boy's eyes, empty and bruised, mirror the terrifying future that awaits her if she falters. April, once a beacon of youthful innocence, performs her first demo deal with a terrifying efficiency, a chilling transformation into a cog in Ray's illicit machine. As Dylan, blinded by the false generosity of Ray, accepts a lavish gift, a gesture designed to further ensnare him, he becomes an unwitting participant in his own downfall. Ray's web is intricate, his patience boundless, his targets meticulously chosen. Laurel Thomas, usually perceptive, finds herself inexplicably drawn to Ray's superficial charm, a dangerous magnetic pull that could drag her into the swirling vortex of his schemes. Will Laurel see through the charming facade before she becomes another victim of Ray's insidious influence? The narrative builds to a crescendo of desperation. April and Dylan's fragile happiness is entirely dependent on Ray's capricious whims, a ticking time bomb threatening to explode and consume their very beings. How will they ever break free from this suffocating nightmare? The episode ends with Ray, silhouetted against a setting sun, a sinister smile playing on his lips, as Laurel's unsuspecting laughter echoes in the background. In another corner of Emmerdale, a different kind of secrecy unfolds. wrapped in the enigma of Caleb Milligan. Jai Sharma's disbelief at Caleb's apparent nonchalance about the depot's management is not misplaced. Caleb is a man with a hidden agenda, a clandestine mission that demands his undivided attention. The air around him crackles with an unspoken tension. He receives a mysterious call, a hushed conversation filled with cryptic codes and urgent directives. The next morning, a heart-stopping moment, Caleb, attempting to slip away from Mill Cottage under the cloak of dawn, is startled by Ruby Milligan, her eyes narrowed with suspicion, her voice cutting through the morning stillness like a steel blade. "What are you up to, Caleb?" she demands, her gaze unwavering. The camera lingers on Caleb's face, a complex tapestry of guilt, defiance, and unspoken promises. What unspeakable truth is he shielding from Ruby? Is it a dangerous business deal, a personal vendetta, or something far more sinister that could shatter their fragile peace? The unanswered question hangs heavy in the air, a precursor to the inevitable confrontation. Meanwhile, a more personal, and deeply heartbreaking, battle is being waged by Liam Kavanagh. His health concerns, initially dismissed with a doctor's bravado, begin to manifest in alarming ways. Claudette Anderson, with her usual directness, urges him to prioritize his prostate appointment, but Liam, caught in the current of denial, waves her off, cancelling the crucial consultation. Manpreet Sharma, a witness to Liam's increasingly desperate attempts to conceal his symptoms, observes a profoundly disturbing scene: Liam, a respected doctor, resorting to the indignity of relieving himself in his own consulting room hand basin. The image is stark, a visceral portrayal of a man losing control, his professional facade crumbling under the weight of his hidden torment. Manpreet's gaze is filled with a mixture of shock and profound pity. The truth, however unpalatable, can no longer be avoided. Liam, his voice choked with a raw, unadulterated fear, finally confides in his fiancée, Charles Dingle. The revelation of his fears, a potential prostate cancer diagnosis, shatters Chaz's world. Her face, usually a picture of resilience, crumples with unspeakable grief and terror. The episode zooms in on their clasped hands, a silent testament to the terrifying journey they are about to embark on. Will Liam find the courage to face his fears and seek the treatment he desperately needs, or will pride and denial lead him down a path of no return? The question lingers, a haunting melody of uncertainty. Finally, in a web of entangled lies and concealed truths, Gabby Thomas and Vinnie Dingle unknowingly dance on the precipice of marital destruction. Gabby, consumed by a suffocating guilt, finally breaks under the weight of her secret, admitting to Laurel that she cheated on Vinnie before their wedding. Laurel, aghast, her voice laced with exasperation, confronts Gabby about her plan to take this devastating secret to her grave. A storm of emotions rages within Gabby, a tempest of regret, fear, and a desperate desire to protect her fragile new family. But Gabby is not the only one harboring a life-altering secret. Vinnie, meanwhile, receives a letter that rips through his fragile sense of security, a missive that holds the power to unravel everything he holds dear. The contents of the letter are veiled in mystery, but its impact on Vinnie is immediate and devastating. He is torn between a moral imperative, to testify against Mike and prevent further harm, and the devastating possibility that his testimony will expose his own lies to Gabby. The internal conflict is excruciating, a battle between justice and self-preservation. Gabby, beaming with anticipation, expresses her excitement that Vinnie can now officially adopt Thomas, a joyous moment tainted by the dark cloud of Vinnie's hidden truth. His guilt is a physical burden, a constant ache that threatens to tear him apart. The adoption, meant to cement their family, now hangs precariously on the edge of exposure. Will Gabby's own betrayal resurface to haunt her, or will Vinnie's secret be the catalyst that shatters their fragile union? The episode culminates in a series of juxtaposed scenes: Charity staring blankly at her phone, the clock ticking towards the DNA results, April, her face hardened by fear, secretly taking a call on her burner phone. Caleb, his eyes haunted, as Ruby watches him with dawning suspicion, Liam, his face pale and drawn, leaning on Chaz for support, and Gabby and Vinnie, sharing a tender moment with Thomas, both burdened by the crushing weight of their unspoken truths. As the credits roll, a single, ominous question reverberates: can any of these secrets remain buried, or is Emmerdale destined to be engulfed by the very deceptions its inhabitants have so meticulously woven? The stage is set for an explosive next episode, where every revelation will have a seismic impact, and no one is safe from the fallout. The air in Emmerdale crackles with an almost unbearable tension, a palpable sense of foreboding that hangs heavy over every cottage and field. The echoes of yesterday's secrets are no longer whispers but growing roars, threatening to consume all in their path. This is the moment where foundations tremble, where carefully constructed lives begin to crumble, and where the true cost of deceit is mercilessly laid bare. Prepare yourself, for the breaking point is here, and no one will emerge unscathed. Our focus narrows first on Charity Dingle, her spirit now a battleground of conflicting emotions. The 10-day wait for the DNA results has morphed into an agonizing eternity, each passing minute a cruel torment. She finds herself retreating, not to her usual boisterous self, but into a shell of anxiety, snapping at anyone who dares to approach. We witness a particularly poignant scene, Charity, alone in the woolpack after closing, not counting the day's takings, but staring blankly at her reflection in the polished bar, her eyes mirroring a raw vulnerability rarely seen. The image of raw Spartan flashes unbidden into her mind, not just the fling, but a shared moment of unexpected intimacy, a fleeting connection that now feels like a betrayal of colossal proportions. Suddenly, a text message pings. It's from the clinic. The results are ready. Charity's breath catches in her throat. Her hands tremble so violently she almost drops her phone. The screen illuminates her pale, drawn face, highlighting every line of worry. She debates, wrestles with herself, whether to open it now or prolong the agonizing suspense. A knock at the door sends a jolt through her. It's Charles Dingle, her face a mask of concern, her intuition buzzing like a trapped bee. "Charity, are you all right? You've been acting strangely." Chaz's gaze is piercing, searching for answers. Charity, cornered, offers a flimsy excuse, but Chaz isn't fooled. "It's about Ross, isn't it? I saw you too. What's going on, Charity?" The tension in the woolpack is electric, thicker than the deepest Emmerdale fog. Charity knows this is the moment of truth. Does she confess everything, risking Chaz's judgment and potentially shattering her relationship with Sarah, or does she dig deeper into the pit of lies? The camera zooms in on her finger hovering over the message, then cutting to Chaz's unwavering stare. The choice is hers, and the consequences, monumental. Meanwhile, the shadow of Ray Walters stretches longer and more sinister over the unsuspecting inhabitants of Emmerdale, particularly April Windsor and Dylan Penders. April, hardened by her first assignment, finds herself trapped in a terrifying new reality. Her burner phone, once a symbol of a dangerous secret, now rings incessantly, dictating her every move. She is sent on another mission, deeper into the dark underbelly that Ray controls. This time, however, the stakes are higher, the risks more immediate. She is forced to interact with unsavory characters, her youthful innocence slowly eroding with each transaction. A close call with a suspicious stranger leaves her heart pounding, a cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. The fear is no longer abstract, it's a visceral, living entity that stalks her every step. Dylan, meanwhile, is being skillfully maneuvered by Ray. Paddy Dingle's genuine efforts to teach Dylan how to drive clash brutally with Ray's lessons, which are less about driving and more about loyalty, secrecy, and control. Ray subtly plants seeds of doubt about Paddy and Dylan's mind, twisting every kind gesture into a manipulative act. "Paddy's just trying to control you, Dylan. He doesn't want you to be independent like me." The words are venom, slowly poisoning Dylan's perception. Dylan's generous gift from Ray is revealed to be a souped-up old car, ostentatiously restored, but subtly rigged with tracking devices and hidden compartments, a cage disguised as freedom. Dylan, thrilled, parades his new ride around Emmerdale, oblivious to the insidious strings attached. The most shocking development, however, involves Laurel Thomas. Ray, sensing an opportunity, has escalated his charming overtures. He invites Laurel for a seemingly innocent dinner, a carefully orchestrated evening designed to disarm and captivate her. Laurel, flattered by the attention and perhaps a little lonely, falls for his polished facade. As they dine, Ray subtly probes, extracting information about Emmerdale, its residents, their vulnerabilities. He paints himself as a benevolent, misunderstood figure, a victim of circumstance, preying on Laurel's empathetic nature. The scene ends with Ray leaning in, a predatory glint in his eyes, as Laurel smiles, completely unaware of the viper she has invited into her life. Will Laurel become Ray's next pawn, or worse, his unwitting accomplice in his dark empire? The tension is unbearable. The mystery surrounding Caleb Milligan deepens, pulling Ruby Milligan into a vortex of suspicion and distrust. Ruby, refusing to let Caleb's evasiveness go, follows him. Her pursuit leads her to the outskirts of Emmerdale, to a dilapidated, abandoned warehouse shrouded in secrecy. Through a broken window, she spies Caleb, not alone, but engaged in an intense, hushed conversation with two shadowy figures. Their faces are obscured, their voices low and guttural. Caleb hands over a heavy bag. Is it money, documents, or something far more illicit? The air is thick with danger, and Ruby's heart pounds in her chest. She overhears snippets of their conversation, words like deal, leverage, and destroy. The realization dawns on her: Caleb isn't just involved in a secret project, he's entangled in something dangerous, something that could jeopardize their entire family. As Caleb turns to leave, Ruby ducks back into the shadows, her mind reeling. What has Caleb gotten himself into, and how far will he go to protect his secrets, even from his own wife? The image of Ruby, hidden in the darkness, watching her husband become a stranger, is profoundly unsettling. Liam Kavanagh's desperate struggle against his own body takes a devastating turn. Despite Chaz's support, the fear of a prostate cancer diagnosis gnaws at him, manifesting in escalating physical symptoms. He experiences a sudden, excruciating spasm of pain during a consultation with a patient, forcing him to abruptly end the appointment. The patient, bewildered and concerned, observes Liam's contorted face, his obvious distress. Later, in the quiet solitude of his consulting room, Liam attempts to perform a self-examination, his hands trembling, his face etched with terror. He discovers a lump, small yet terrifyingly real. The discovery shatters his last vestiges of denial. He calls Chaz, his voice barely a whisper, broken and defeated. Chaz. I found something. I think it's real. Chaz rushes to his side, her own fear mirroring his. The scene is raw, intimate, a testament to the fragility of life and the immense courage required to face one's deepest fears. The journey ahead for Liam and Chaz is fraught with pain and uncertainty, but in that moment of shared vulnerability, a profound bond of love and resilience is forged. Finally, the meticulously woven tapestry of lies between Gabby Thomas and Vinnie Dingle begins to fray at the edges, threatening to unravel their entire world. Vinnie, reeling from the mysterious letter, is summoned to a clandestine meeting with a police detective. The detective lays out the stark choice: testify against Mike, a dangerous criminal, and ensure justice is served, or risk further innocent lives. The dilemma is agonizing. If he testifies, his involvement with Mike and the ensuing lies to Gabby will be exposed. The very thought of Gabby discovering his past, of Thomas learning of his father's secrets, is unbearable. Meanwhile, Gabby, emboldened by Vinnie's apparent distraction, begins to convince herself that her own secret, her pre-wedding infidelity, can remain buried. She almost laughs with relief when Vinnie seems preoccupied with his own issues, mistakenly believing her secret is safe. However, a chance encounter proves otherwise. Laurel, still seething from Gabby's confession, lets slip a cryptic remark in earshot of Bob Hope. Some secrets are too big to keep, Gabby, especially when innocent hearts are involved. Bob, ever the eavesdropper and puzzle solver, pieces together fragmented conversations and observations. A seed of suspicion takes root in his mind. He remembers Gabby's strange behavior before the wedding, the strained smiles, the fleeting glances. The episode ends with Bob, a thoughtful frown on his face, looking from Gabby to Vinnie, a dawning realization in his eyes. He knows something is amiss, and it's only a matter of time before he unearths the truth, inadvertently becoming the catalyst that will expose not one, but both of their devastating secrets. The stage is set for a double bombshell that will undoubtedly tear their lives apart. The final shot, a montage of strained faces, desperate choices, and looming threats. Charity, tears streaming down her face, finally opening the message. April, looking over her shoulder nervously as she walks down a dark alley. Caleb, his face grim, stepping into the shadows with the mysterious figures. Liam and Chaz, clinging to each other in the stark sterility of the doctor's office. And Gabby and Vinnie, sharing a strained, silent dinner, both acutely aware of the chasm growing between them, unaware that Bob's observant eyes are about to blow their carefully constructed world sky high. The fragile peace of Emmerdale has shattered. The whispers have become shouts, the shadows have revealed their monstrous forms, and the ground beneath everyone's feet is trembling. This is the reckoning, a tempest of revelations that will leave no stone unturned, no heart unbroken. Prepare for a maelstrom of raw emotion, desperate confrontations, and irreversible consequences, as the very fabric of Emmerdale is torn apart. The chilling revelation from the DNA test grips Charity Dingle in a vice of despair and fury. The message on her phone, once a source of agonizing suspense, now burns into her psyche with a devastating truth. We see her collapse onto a stool at the Woolpack, the phone clattering to the floor, her hands flying to her mouth to stifle a guttural sob. The words, though unseen by the audience, paint a vivid picture of her worst fears confirmed. Charles Dingle, who had witnessed Charity's earlier distress, re-enters, her concern turning to alarm at the sight of her cousin's utter devastation. "Charity. What is it? What's happened?" Chaz rushes to her, picking up the phone, her eyes scanning the damning text. A gasp escapes her lips, her face contorting in shock and betrayal. "Ross? How could you, Charity? How could you do this to Sarah? To all of us?" The accusations explode from Chaz, fueled by a deep sense of protectiveness for Sarah. Charity, broken and cornered, can only manage choked, incoherent apologies. The confrontation escalates, a furious storm within the quiet pub. Chaz's anger, usually tempered, becomes a raging inferno. She accuses Charity not just of betrayal, but of unforgivable recklessness, jeopardizing Sarah's future and the Dingle family's fragile peace. Charity, finally finding her voice, retaliates with her own pain, reminding Chaz of her own past mistakes, desperate to deflect the unbearable weight of her guilt. The scene becomes a raw, emotional brawl, not with fists, but with words that cut deeper than any knife. The possibility of this devastating truth reaching Sarah is a terrifying prospect, one that could shatter the young girl's world and permanently scar her relationship with her grandmother. The episode leaves us on a cliffhanger. Chaz, her face etched with disgust and hurt, turns to leave, pausing at the door. "You have to tell her, Charity. Or I will." The ultimatum hangs heavy in the air, leaving Charity utterly isolated, facing the impossible choice of confessing or living with a secret that could destroy everything she holds dear. The insidious web spun by Ray Walters tightens its hold, pushing April Windsor and Dylan Penders to their absolute limits. April, forced deeper into Ray's illicit operations, finds herself caught in a horrifying dilemma. During a delivery, she witnesses a violent exchange, a brutal reminder of the world she's now entangled in. Her conscience screams, but the fear of Ray's retribution, of what he might do to Dylan or even her family, paralyzes her. She returns to the depot, her face pale, her eyes wide with unspeakable horror. Dylan, meanwhile, has become increasingly reliant on Ray, mistaking control for mentorship. He proudly shows off his restored car to Patty Dingle, completely oblivious to the hidden tracking devices and compartments. Patty, noticing a subtle shift in Dylan's demeanor, a newfound arrogance, a guardedness in his eyes, feels a growing unease. He tries to connect with Dylan, to offer genuine guidance, but Ray's poisonous whispers have already taken root, making Dylan dismissive and resentful of Patty's interference. The true shockwave, however, comes from Laurel Thomas. Ray's charm offensive culminates in an act of profound betrayal. Following their dinner, Laurel, disarmed and vulnerable, confides in Ray about local business dealings, family struggles, and personal secrets, information she would never share with a stranger. Ray, having meticulously recorded their conversation, later uses this sensitive data to subtly manipulate a local property deal, securing a significant financial advantage while discrediting a rival, all without Laurel's knowledge. The full extent of his cunning is revealed as he makes a hushed call, boasting about how easy it was to get the information from sweet Laurel. A fleeting shot shows Laurel, at home, smiling contentedly, completely oblivious to how she has been expertly played. The chilling implication is clear: Laurel is not just a target for his affections, but a tool for his schemes, a pawn in his ruthless game of power and profit. Will Laurel ever discover the depths of Ray's manipulation, or will she remain blindly enchanted, a victim of his insidious charm? The abandoned warehouse becomes the epicenter of Caleb Milligan's escalating crisis. Ruby Milligan, her heart a pounding drum of fear and suspicion, confronts Caleb after witnessing his clandestine meeting. "Who were those men, Caleb? What were you giving them? What deal are you talking about?" Her voice, usually sharp, trembles with a desperate plea for truth. Caleb, caught off guard, initially tries to deny, deflect, and minimize. But Ruby's eyes, filled with a wounded betrayal, are unwavering. "Don't lie to me, Caleb. I heard enough. This isn't just business, is it? This is dangerous. The tension is unbearable." Caleb, seeing the depth of her fear and the impossibility of further lies, breaks. He reveals a portion of the truth. He's been drawn into a high-stakes, illegal venture, initially promising enormous returns, but now spiraling out of control. He admits to a crushing debt and powerful, dangerous people demanding their pound of flesh. The heavy bag he handed over? Not just money, but a vital piece of evidence in a broader criminal conspiracy. He confessed he's trying to gain leverage against these shadowy figures to protect his family. But Ruby, now terrified, sees only the abyss. "You've put us all in danger, Caleb. You've ruined everything." Their argument reaches a fever pitch, culminating in Ruby delivering a chilling ultimatum: "Get out of this, Caleb. Get out now, or I'm leaving you. I can't live like this." The episode ends with Caleb, his face a mask of despair, watching Ruby walk away, the weight of his dangerous choices threatening to crush him. Liam Kavanagh and Charles Dingle face their darkest hour. Following the discovery of the lump, Liam undergoes urgent tests. The waiting period is excruciating, a limbo of fear and uncertainty. The scene cuts to them in the doctor's office, the sterile environment amplifying their raw vulnerability. The doctor enters, his face somber, carrying the results. He confirms their worst fears: Liam has prostate cancer. The words hit them like a physical blow. Chas clutches Liam's hand, tears streaming down her face, but her gaze is resolute, a fierce determination to fight alongside him. Liam, usually so composed, is visibly shaken, grappling with the profound shock and the terrifying reality of his diagnosis. But even in this moment of devastation, a glimmer of their fierce love shines through. The doctor discusses treatment options, the grim statistics, the arduous journey ahead. Liam, regaining some composure, asks the question that truly matters: Will I be okay? The doctor's reply is not a promise, but a guarded hope: "We will fight this together, Liam." The episode leaves them embracing, two souls facing an unimaginable challenge, their love a beacon against the encroaching darkness. The explosive unraveling of secrets begins with Gabby Thomas and Vinnie Dingle, triggered by the observant Bob Hope. Bob, piecing together the cryptic remarks and suspicious behaviors, decides he can no longer ignore his instincts. He confronts Laurel, not with accusations, but with carefully phrased questions, hinting at what he suspects. Laurel, flustered and realizing her earlier slip, tries to backtrack, but Bob's gentle persistence chips away at her resolve. Finally, overwhelmed by the burden of Gabby's secret, and seeing the pain it's causing, Laurel makes a desperate choice. She sits down with Bob, and with a heavy heart, reveals Gabby's pre-wedding infidelity. Bob is stunned, a wave of disappointment washing over him. "Gabby! How could she?" he whispers. Armed with this devastating truth, Bob, feeling a deep sense of loyalty to Vinnie and a duty to protect him, decides to confront Gabby. The confrontation is brutal. Bob, usually jovial, is stern, his voice tinged with sadness and anger. "Gabby, I know what you did to Vinnie before the wedding." Gabby's face strains of color, her carefully constructed world collapsing around her. She tries to deny, to charm, to manipulate, but Bob is unyielding. Just as Gabby is about to break down, the unthinkable happens. Vinnie, returning from his meeting with the detective, overhears Bob's final, damning words: "You cheated on him, Gabby, before you even said I do." Vinnie freezes, the detective's urgent plea to testify against Mike now a distant echo. His face, already etched with the burden of his own secret, crumples in disbelief and heartbreak. The betrayal cuts him to the core. All his fears about exposing his own past to protect their family now feel utterly meaningless. The person he was protecting, the woman he married, had already shattered their trust. A raw, guttural cry escapes him. "Is it true, Gabby?" he asks, his voice trembling, his eyes filled with a pain that rivals physical agony. Gabby, tears streaming down her face, can only nod, a silent confession. In that moment of profound agony, Vinnie's own secret, the weight of his past with Mike, is unleashed by his broken heart. "And you, Gabby," he screams, his voice cracking with fury, "you think you have secrets? What about me? What about my past? The reason I'm even considering testifying, the reason I've been lying to you, is because of the dangerous man I was involved with, the one who could destroy us all." The double bombshell explodes simultaneously, leaving Bob stunned, Gabby weeping uncontrollably, and Vinnie utterly shattered. The episode ends with the image of their shattered family, the echoes of their devastating confessions hanging heavy in the air, a testament to the destructive power of buried truths. The question isn't if their marriage will survive, but if any of them will ever truly recover from this catastrophic fallout. The dust has begun to settle, but the ashes of broken trust and shattered dreams still linger heavily in the air, choking the very life out of Emmerdale. The ground has been scorched by the fires of revelation, leaving behind a landscape of uncertainty and despair. This is the aftermath, where the true cost of hidden truths is tallied, where survival means facing unimaginable pain, and where the possibility of rebirth flickers faintly amidst the ruins. Brace yourselves, for the true test of resilience is about to begin. The Dingle family is in crisis, reeling from the devastating truth surrounding Charity Dingle and her unborn child. The raw, guttural argument between Charity and Charles Dingle leaves deep, festering wounds. Charity, utterly broken, finds herself ostracized, the usual Dingle camaraderie replaced by cold stares and hushed whispers. Sarah Sugden, sensing the palpable tension, confronts Ches directly. "Auntie Ches, what's wrong with Grandma? Why is everyone so angry?" Ches, torn between protecting Sarah and the brutal truth, struggles. The pain of potential heartbreak for Sarah is unbearable, but the weight of Charity's lie is equally suffocating. In a moment of desperation, Charity seeks out Ross Barton, not for comfort, but for a volatile confrontation. She blames him for their shared predicament, for the fleeting moment of weakness that has now detonated a bomb in her life. Ross, for his part, is stunned by the confirmed paternity, his initial shock quickly giving way to a complex mixture of responsibility and fear. He never anticipated this outcome. The scene between them is explosive, a bitter exchange of accusations and regrets. "This isn't what I wanted, Charity," Ross shouts, his voice laced with his own anxieties. "You think I wanted to be tied to this? To you, like this?" Charity, tears streaming down her face, retaliates, "You think I wanted to carry your child? I wanted Sarah's." The emotional violence is palpable. The episode culminates in a tense Dingle family meeting, orchestrated by Zach and Lisa, where Charity is forced to face the collective judgment of her family. The question is clear: will they stand by her, or will this lie tear the Dingle clan apart forever, leaving Charity to face her future alone, with a child whose paternity has already cast a long shadow? The insidious grip of Ray Walters tightens its stranglehold, pushing April Windsor to the brink of a terrifying abyss. After witnessing the violent exchange, April's conscience becomes a torturer. She confides in Dylan Penders, her voice trembling, revealing the true darkness of Ray's world. Dylan, however, is increasingly under Ray's influence, dismissing April's fears as overreactions or just part of the job. Ray, ever watchful, senses April's wavering loyalty. He engineers a public incident, deliberately framing April for a minor transgression at the depot, making her appear reckless and incompetent. This act serves to isolate April further, driving a wedge between her and Dylan, and reinforcing her dependence on Ray. The true horror of Ray's cunning is fully unveiled as Laurel Thomas begins to uncover his insidious manipulation. A casual conversation with a rival property developer, now facing financial ruin, reveals discrepancies in a deal, discrepancies that mirror the very information Laurel had innocently shared with Ray. A chilling realization dawns on her: Ray wasn't just charming, he was cunning, a predator disguised as a gentleman. The betrayal cuts deep, leaving Laurel feeling foolish and utterly used. She confronts Ray, her voice trembling not with fear, but with righteous fury. "What kind of man are you, Ray? How could you use me like that?" Ray, dropping his charming facade, reveals a cold, calculating smile. "Just business, Laurel. You were simply a convenient source of information." His chilling admission leaves Laurel devastated, the image of the man she thought she knew shattered into 1,000 pieces. The episode ends with Laurel, determined and heartbroken, vowing to expose Ray, unaware of the immense danger she is now placing herself in. The fallout from Caleb Milligan's dangerous secrets sends shockwaves through his marriage. Ruby Milligan, true to her word, packs a bag, her face set with a grim resolve. Caleb, desperate, tries to reason with her, to explain his predicament, to beg for another chance. "Ruby, please, I can fix this. I can protect us." But Ruby's trust is irrevocably broken. "You had your chance, Caleb. You chose this path, and you chose to lie to me. I can't live with this constant fear." Her departure is a gut-wrenching scene, leaving Caleb alone in their cottage, surrounded by the ruins of his personal life, staring at the empty space where his family once stood. The shadowy figures from the warehouse, however, are not so easily dismissed. A menacing note is left on Caleb's doorstep, a thinly veiled threat, reminding him of his obligation and the brutal consequences of failure. The game is far from over for Caleb. In fact, it has just begun, and the stakes are higher than ever. Liam Kavanagh and Charles Dingle face the daunting reality of his cancer diagnosis with a mixture of raw fear and fierce determination. The news, though devastating, solidifies their bond in an unexpected way. Liam, initially overwhelmed, finds strength in Chaz's unwavering support. They attend their first oncology appointment, listening intently to the doctor's explanation of chemotherapy and radiation. The medical jargon is cold and clinical, but the human element their love provides warmth. Chaz, ever practical, begins researching, adjusting their lives, becoming Liam's rock. Liam, however, grapples with the emotional toll. He struggles with his identity as a doctor, now a patient, facing the very illness he once treated. A particularly poignant scene shows him looking at his medical coat, a symbol of his former life, with a profound sense of loss. He confides in Chaz, "I feel exposed, vulnerable. Like I'm not myself anymore." Chaz holds him, reminding him of his strength, his courage, and their shared future. The episode closes with them holding hands, not in despair, but in quiet defiance, ready to face the long, arduous battle ahead, together. The double bombshell of betrayal completely obliterates the marriage of Gabby Thomas and Vinnie Dingle. The ensuing confrontation is not just an argument, it's a profound unraveling, a dismantling of every shared dream and promise. Bob Hope, reeling from the impact of his unwitting revelation, attempts to mediate, but the damage is too extensive. Vinnie, his voice hoarse with heartbreak and fury, confronts Gabby about her infidelity. "How could you, Gabby? All this time, I was trying to protect you, protect Thomas, and you. You betrayed me before we even started." Gabby, weeping uncontrollably, tries to explain, to apologize, but her words are lost in Vinnie's pain. Then, Vinnie's own confession, born of that same pain, is explored in its brutal entirety. He reveals the full truth about Mike, a dangerous figure from his past, and the terrifying threat of testifying against him. He explains the lies, the secrecy, all born from a desperate attempt to shield Gabby and Thomas from his dangerous past. Gabby, momentarily forgetting her own betrayal, is stunned by the depth of Vinnie's predicament. "You were involved with a criminal, Vinnie? This whole time?" Her initial shock turns to fear, then to a different kind of anger at his deception, at the danger he unknowingly brought into their lives. The argument culminates in a devastating realization: their marriage, built on a foundation of lies and secrets, cannot withstand this dual collapse. Vinnie, his heart utterly shattered, announces, "It's over, Gabby. I can't do this anymore." Gabby, gasping, begs him, "Please, Vinnie. We can fix this. For Thomas." But Vinnie's resolve is firm. The weight of her betrayal, combined with the crushing burden of his own past, is too much. He walks out, leaving Gabby alone, sobbing hysterically in their home, the dream of their family unit shattered beyond repair. The final shot is of Vinnie, walking aimlessly down the deserted road, his future with Thomas, and his own safety, hanging precariously in the balance as he prepares to face Mike and the consequences of his past.